All right, it's another chilly day up here in North Florida, but it had put a chill on this real estate market this week. And what about those interest rates? We're going to check that out. Hey, look behind me. Being on the water is pretty nice, right? No matter whether it's a lake, you know, the ocean, or the river, any view you got is great. But during storms, depending on where you live, it could be a problem. And so tonight we're going to take a look at what's that FEMA 50% rule and what's this Elevate Florida program and how can that affect you if you own a house that's affected by those things. We're going to cover that too tonight. But also the main purpose of this show is to bring you that real estate market update every week in this Jacksonville metro area up here in North Florida. And so I'm going to do that tonight. Now, I'm just a regular guy who happens to be a real estate agent up here in North Florida, and I bring you into the back of my MLS to show you the real numbers every week. There ain't the numbers that a lot of people like to look at, but it is the real numbers that I pull every week. And this is some of what I pull out of that MLS account. I'm going to take a look at the active listings, going to see how many are active under contract, what sold in the last 7 days, how many went pending in the last 7 days, and then we're going to take a look at those new home sales and see what they did, and also take a look and see the active listings, how many are in foreclosure status. Now I take all that information and I export it, and it comes into an Excel spreadsheet like this, which has a lot of data, okay? That's all scrambled up in there. It's kind of hard to read. So what I do is I clean it up and put it into my own Excel spreadsheet, which looks more like this. And we can track this week by week and even year by year, because I'm in my third season of this show, Bubble Watch, and this is week 41. So we're going to take a look at that. I also break down, I'll show you the median price, sales price per homes for single family homes, townhomes, and condos. And I also show you the median price per square foot for those three classes also. That's something you don't get everywhere else. Most places you get a monthly breakdown, and then you got to wait even 2 weeks after the month ends to get the data. Here I show it weekly. I put it in my Excel spreadsheet, and this Excel spreadsheet is available for download. From the description, there is a link on this video. All right, so while all these numbers are crunching out, let's take a look and see what those interest rates did this last week. All right, as we look here, we look at the 30-year fix, this conventional, and on all these charts, we're going to start off at the bottom. That's where we left off last week, and in this case, it was 7.13%, and all these charts on the right here, you see these arrows, and that gives us what the rates did, up or down, and then over here on the left is the dates, and at the top is what we finished off with. You can see, like I said, we started at 7.13. We ended up at 6.96, so we did come down. Also dropped to 6.96 right here on Valentine's Day, okay? And went up a little bit, then settled back down. So we are below 7. Now, the FHA rates are a little bit less, and last week they were at 6.52, and we ended up at 6.32, so also down. VA rates follow pretty much close to the FHA. We see we were at 6.54 last week and at 6.35, so they're also following that downward trend. Well, it looks like this cooler air put a little chill on the rates. They did go below 7, okay? So is it going to hold? Are they going to go further down? Is this going to be kind of the norm, the high 6s to low 7s? Well, we'll see. All right, now we're going to get to those Excel spreadsheets. Now, something else I also do is I do break down a separate spreadsheet for the condominiums. Now, not everyone wants to see the condos, so if you're not interested in the condo, when I get to that portion, you can just skip past that and get to the next segment. But I do show that. I quickly go through it because there is a condo crisis here in Florida with a new law that went into effect this year, starting the beginning of this year. And so I do show that data to see if we see any trend. I haven't seen a real big crisis up here in North Florida like we have in other parts of the state, but I still bring you that data anyhow. So right now, let's get to those Excel spreadsheets. All right, here we are into the back end of my Excel spreadsheets, and you see this column here. We're going to start off with this yellow column here is our current week. As you can see, we're in week 41 of season 3. These other yellow columns are the previous 2 weeks. Now, the column to the right of the yellow in white, that was last year at this time, and the YOY represents year-over-year difference in those numbers. The blue column, SFH, is your single-family homes, where I pull that data out separately. And in this column, you see what the rows stand for. Active listings, sold, active under contract, pending, total on contract, and so forth. Okay, so What we're going to do is start off here with this current week at the top there, the active listings, which is our inventory, and that is 9,916, and that is a huge jump, okay, from the last couple weeks. Sold 421, also a jump, okay, so that was a big increase over what we did last week. Active under contract 1210, that also increased. Pending 378, also went up from last week. Total under contract 1,588. So that is up over these last couple weeks. Listings that are withdrawn, that's 81. Okay, now those withdrawn listings are ones that are still active listings that just can't be sold. Usually it's because somebody is either sick, and there's been a lot of flu going around, so, and sometimes, people are just working at home. Expired 116, okay, it's dropped down, it's settled down from what it did a couple weeks ago. New homes sold 100, so that is a jump too for the new homes. New homes active inventory is 2291. The inventory actually went up a little bit as the sales went up. Now in the orange here, I like to look at this. This gives you the percentage of homes sold that are new. So as you can see, almost 1/4 of all homes sold are new construction homes. Okay, now that blue column over there on the right is the numbers that correspond to what we just did here. So I'll just let you take a look at that for a second. And if you want to pause the video, you can. And just a reminder that this chart goes all the way back to when I started this show back in May of 2022. And just look at what those numbers were back then. Look at that inventory in 2022. 2,994, but the sold's 584, okay? What a big difference, okay? At the time, that first week, I didn't do the new homes, but you can see I started doing them as we went along. But wow, what a difference in inventory from back then and the homes sold. Oh, and by the way, this Excel spreadsheet is downloadable now. I no longer do the newsletter, so it is downloadable from the description of the video. Look there, you'll see a link to it for this one and then also for the condo one. How did people pay for these homes? Well, 27% cash, so the cash number is up from last week, but still, when you look at the other couple weeks, it's been pretty high. Conventional 38%, FHA, okay, over 17, VA, almost 16, and other, almost 2. So other dropped, so I was surprised to see it drop. I figured it would still stay pretty high because the rates are up near 7. These numbers below are the corresponding units sold for those different categories. So as you can see, 114 were cash, 160 were conventional, and so on. We had a total of 421 sold. Our foreclosure numbers, now these are foreclosures that are in active listings, okay? It is not your total foreclosures for North Florida, it's just the ones that are in the MLS. Active listings for sale that are status is foreclosures 129, pre-foreclosures 21, and short sales 49. So we did jump up to 199, so that was an increase from last week. Okay, this is where I look at the percentage of homes that sold under list, at list, and above list. And what we've got here is we've got almost 77% of the homes sold under list, 13% sold at list price, and above list, almost 10%. Okay, below it is the actual units that were sold for those different categories. Now we break it down by the price categories, 500,000 and above, the 400 range, 300 range, 200 range, and below 200,000. As you can see, quite a jump in the ones that went for $500,000 and above, okay? Over 29.5%. Homes that sold in the 400s dropped to just under 11. Homes that sold in the 300s, okay, just over 22%. Homes that sold in the 200s, look at that, okay? Second place goes to them at 23 3/4. Homes that sold below 200, okay, just over 13.5. And again, below it is the units, okay, sold at those price points. And we see more going for the 200s. Now, that could be also, more townhomes being sold. They're in that, and then also manufactured homes. When we look at the new construction numbers, we see 70% of the homes sold under list, 14 15% sold at list and 16% sold above list. I'm still surprised at these numbers above list, and this is a pretty good size up there. So I don't know. Below is the number of units sold at those prices, at those categories. Okay, this is where I look at the median price per square foot for the units sold, and then also the price per square foot, median price per square foot of the sold. So as we can see, single family homes had a median sales price of $395 this week and $211 a square foot. The ones townhomes were $305,990 for the median price and $195 a square foot. The median price for condos was $235 for the condo and $213 for the square footage. And then you can look over here and compare to the previous weeks. And what I'll do is I'll scroll back and you can pause it. So if you want to make your own monthly report, you can look and see what all these other numbers were from the previous weeks and see how it fluctuated. This here is where I take a chart and we look at over here on the left what type of home it is. Then we look at their original list price. The list price is what they lowered it to, and then the close price is what it actually sold for. And over here, diff is your difference, and that difference is difference between the close price or the selling price and the original list price. So as you can see there, that top one was $60,100 below list price. And that's not $1 million home, so that was a pretty large percentage. Days on the market is in this last column, so I'm going to scroll this so that you can look at all these numbers and you can pause it as you want. And it's always interesting to see those days on the market. You know, I mean, some of them are very few, and then some of them are way in the triple digits. And then as we get closer to that zero, boy, there's such a lot, okay, below list price. That zero number represents that it's sold at list price, okay? And as you see the list price ones, the days on the market are a lot less than the majority of the ones that were below list price. Here we got the ones that are above list price, and you can see the corresponding days on the market with those also. Now, this one at the bottom, that is another error, okay? So we have another agent clown that couldn't put the decimal in the right place. We get one or two of these every week, don't we? And so this one here actually should have been one decimal off and should have been like 676,000 instead of that, you know, well, let me back up here. Okay, started off at 685, you know, they kept it at 685, and so it looks like it was selling at 683, okay, 500 is what it sold for, but they had the decimal in the wrong place, so it looked like that it sold for $67 million less than list price, which is impossible. Now, I don't know, maybe I should start showing the agent's name of who puts these things in here and have it like clown of the week, you know, whoever puts this number in here and screws up the numbers. Okay, now if you take a look here at this chart, at this here, this map of in the MLS, this zip code for this week, this is where I look at a zip code of what's for sale and what's sold in this last week here. And this week's zip code is 32081. And what you're looking at right now is the amount of homes that are for sale in that area. And you can see it where its relationship to downtown Jacksonville is. This next map here is the ones that sold. All right, now we take that and put it into the charts, and when we have all the data, you can read there the top header line on what is in each column there, and we start off with the type of home it is, original list price, and the close is the sold price. And remember that difference is the same with everything. The difference I use is the difference between the sold price and the original list price. Here we're looking at the financing, the county. The living area is your square footage, the year it was built. Then we go with the bedrooms and bathrooms and the sold price per square foot right there. And let me go ahead and just turn that into a currency so it's easier to look at those numbers. And the lot size, if the agent puts it in, is right here, whether it was a new construction home or not, and then days on the market. Okay, next we look at the homes that are for sale in that area there. So these are the ones that are for sale. If you want to look at one of these and are interested in buying that, when you see this, just get with us and we will either send you out an MLS sheet on that, or arrange for a showing if you're interested in purchasing a house in this zip code. And these are the ones that are currently for sale. And that top header row pretty much explains what's in all those rows right there in the columns. And what I'm going to do, now this is a pretty good list here because we had an increase in sales. So I'm just going to scroll this down also. And of course you can pause it whenever you like. So let's just let it scroll for a little bit here before we move on. Okay, the next thing I look at is, like I said, those condominiums and the charts. And, a lot of these charts are similar to what we just looked at for the overall. Now, if you're not interested in condominium numbers separated, then you can just skip to the next section of this show tonight. All right, here we are, week 51 for the condos. Now, the condos, I started later than the others. That's why they have a different week number than the others, than the regular Excel sheet that I use. So here we have the numbers, and they fall into line there, like the active solds and everything, and this is for the past week. So I'll let you take a look at that. Next, we look at how did people pay for these, and as you can see there, cash is always higher on these condominiums, and so below that is also the units that sold for that particular category. Here's our foreclosure numbers for the condominiums. And again, I do also the sold at list price, under list, and above list for the condominiums also. There's how the numbers worked out this week. The sold under list was pretty high, okay? Almost 100%, because only when you look at the numbers, out of 33, only one sold at list. Here's the price categories for those condominiums, just like we do with the others. None sold in the 400 range this week. And then you can see the numbers below for the actual units. All right, nothing new in the new this week, so we move on. Because that new law deals with the total stories of the complex, this isn't of the individual condo unit, it is of the complex. I would just show how many people bought on to what story. So like 3 people bought 1-story condo complexes, 15 people bought in a 2-story complex, 10 in a 3-story complex, and so on. And I'll just scroll down on that too. Okay, because the new law goes by the year that was built, and let's see if we can go ahead and make these numbers just a little bit bigger. There you go. And what this is, it just shows these are the individual condo units. So that first one, that's an individual unit, was built in 1975, was a 1-story complex. One that was built in 2022 is a 1-story complex, and so on. I'll go ahead and scroll this, and then you can pause it as you want. Okay, what counties were these condominiums sold in? Right there you see Duval County has the largest amount, and one was in another. Usually that other is probably Volusia County, which is really Daytona. I also do the same chart here where I show the original list price, and then the selling price and the difference, and then the days on the market. So I'm going to scroll this so you can see there the differences, how much below list. And since we only had one that sold at list, you see it down there at the bottom, everything else was below list this week. As always, I ask you every week, if you like the way I put these numbers together and the way I present the show for you, to show you this information, then give me a thumbs up. And if you want to be a member of the Bubble Watch Nation, then just hit that subscribe button, okay? Now I'm going to go into what is called MLS Advantage, okay? Like I said, this whole Jacksonville metro area is really 9 counties, okay? So out of these 9 counties, there's several MLS boards all scattered, okay? The data I just showed you all came from the real MLS, which is the Northeast Florida MLS, and that is the largest. But in MLS Advantage, I take these smaller ones and I look at the sold data, which gives you a bigger picture of this whole area up here. So I put that into an Excel spreadsheet and break it down by counties, showing you where the sales are. A lot of people have asked for that and find it helpful, so that's what I do. So right now, let's take a look at the MLS Advantage. All right, here we are into the MLS Advantage section of the MLS. And down here are those 9 counties: Baker, Union, Bradford, Clay, Nassau, Duval, St. Johns, Flagler, and Putnam. All right, what I do is I go over here, I hit the search button, and it gives us 524 properties. All right, when we take that 524 total and bring it in here to where we break it down by the counties, we see right there Baker doubled their units to 4 this week. Union stayed the same at 1. Bradford cut theirs in half to 3. Clay County went up 1 to 46. Nassau jumped a few to also be 46. Duval County had an increase and they ended up at 189. St. John's also an increase with 142. Flagler also with their increase at 75, and Putnam had an increase of 4, which brought them to 18. And again, there's our total, 524 for the 9 counties. I am a licensed real estate agent here in the whole state of Florida, not just North Florida. But if you're looking to buy or sell, and if you don't have a real estate agent already, or you'd like to put us in the mixed interview, I do work with a select team of real estate agents up here in Northeast Florida to help people buy and sell. All right, now let's get to beautiful water, right? And what's going to happen? What's this FEMA 50% rule, and what's that Florida Elevate program? All right, check out these articles and we'll get a little bit of an explanation right now. All right, do you ever wonder, after you see these storms come through, how it takes so long for some people to get their homes rebuilt? Well, let me show you something. Here we are on the FEMA site, Substantial Damage Quick Guide. Okay, we're going to get to that 50% rule. All right, when structures inside the special flood hazard area, and that's usually, well, it's going to be most likely, it's places that need flood insurance when you get a mortgage, pretty much. I mean, they do have their flood zones, and there's a lot of them. But to simplify it, it generally is where, flood zone insurance, where flood insurance is required. Okay, here, the National Flood Insurance Program. Okay, participant communities have a responsibility to assess impacts before repairs can be made. So, okay, there's bureaucracy there. No matter the cause of damage, if the cost to repair is 50% or more of the market value, the structure is considered substantially damaged and must be brought into compliance with current local floodplain management standards. All right, so let's look at this. All right, so you're based on what we're reading right there, okay, you're thinking, okay, it's on water, so usually these properties are worth more. Even if there's not a house there, the property is worth more. So say the house is worth, the lot itself, if it didn't have a home, was worth $500,000, $500,000. You bought the place for $750,000, $250,000 for the house. So you're sitting there saying, oh crap, okay, I've got, I mean, this house is wiped out, okay, 50% or more of the market value, over $350,000, okay? No. What is substantial damage? This here, if the repairs needed to bring a structure to its pre-damage condition will be equal or exceed 50% of the market value of the structure, here we are, not including the value of the land, then the structure is considered to be substantially damaged. So it's what the structure is, not the whole property, okay? Likewise, if the proposed work to improve a structure will cost 50% or more of the value, the structure is considered to be substantially improved and must be brought into compliance with current local floodplain management standards. Now this is where it could get even worse, okay? If the community has adopted a stricter standard, such as 40% of the market value or adding repairs over a certain period of time, the community standard would apply. And then when figuring out all that, the cost to include when estimating the repairs, right here, demolition and debris disposal, okay? That could, right there, that alone could push you over that 50% or less if the community had those stricter requirements. But right there, you got to consider that in there, which adds to that cost. All right, so who determines market value, okay? Is it the appraiser that you pick? Well, according to this, local officials need to determine the market value of the structure. Okay, and then as I would refer to the special flood hazard areas, well, here you are, okay? And as we zoom in here, you see all those zones. And you see X is not on there, right? So X is not part of this particular thing. Okay, here we are in an article from Florida Realtors. A new program covers 75% of the cost to elevate homes. So most of the time when they have to be brought into compliance, to like what the previous page there showed with the FEMA requirements, it's to elevate it, okay? There could be other things, but a lot of times it's to elevate it, or most of the times probably. And this program here, this is for Florida. The program Elevate Florida can help eligible homeowners affected by flooding and substantial property damage who are impacted by FEMA's 50% rule. And right here, between the flooding and the cleanup, those who endured Hurricanes Helene and Milton have faced many hurdles, okay? We know that. Now a federal regulation might cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. The FEMA's 50% rule is catching some homeowners who are affected by flooding and damage off guard. The mandate is a complex regulation that can cost homeowners a small fortune. Especially those in a flood zone who have substantial damage might not be allowed to just do simple repairs. They may be forced to tear down their home and completely rebuild at a higher elevation. And right here is where Elevate Florida comes in. It is a new state program that's helping homeowners cover the cost to elevate their home. To start, homeowners need to apply through the Elevate Florida application portal. And as long as the property owner can put up 25% of the project's total cost, including initial inspections, the program can cover a whopping 75 to 100% of flood mitigation costs, depending on some other factors, including history of loss. Now, for any further information about how it works and how the program goes, just go to the Elevate Florida's own website, because I am sure there is all kinds of stuff you're going to have to fill out and go through. And here is that site, and I will put a link to it in the description, okay, along with, my Excel spreadsheet links. All right, all that stuff there, that was based on the FEMA, like with the flood zones and stuff like that. And like I said, they didn't count flood zone X, but don't think that you're off the hook completely there, because a lot of counties have their own rule on this 50% rule. So even if you're not in a flood zone X and you have damage or something that exceeds 50%, you may have to bring everything up to current codes. And they do have their own elevation schedules too that they work with. In fact, I had a mobile home. It wasn't in the flood zone that needed flood insurance. It was outside of it. They replaced it. It had been there for years, never flooded, the water never got up. They were on a lake also, but they were high enough up. But because they replaced that mobile home, they put in another one, then they had to come up with new standards. So they had to raise this thing up like this. Their air conditioning unit was jacked up in the air like 5 feet and something like that. It was just a mess. Now they had to have these stairs to get up into it and all that, where before it wasn't. It was closer to the ground. And that can happen too with buying a house that you're going to tear down. Then you might have to meet some new elevations, even if it's not, a manufactured home that you're putting in. So always check with the counties, because, you may not be able to do what you want to do after the home is wrecked, or sometimes even with a carport. I've seen that where they've had to do things with a carport a certain way. If it if it was 50% damaged, you know, and external garages also, all that stuff, or the big sheds things. So you just have to check with the counties to see. Hey, you know what? This is 41, week 41, and it's in the can. And until next week, I'm out of here.